Three games in progress in the NFL right now. Adam, Scott, Joe talking with you here on the grid. So here's where we stand. The Broncos, they've got the ball back. 28-6 lead at home against the Falcons. That has about 8 minutes to go in quarter number three. Seahawks, fresh off a Niners field goal and trailing 10-6, have the ball. 8 minutes left in the third quarter as well. And at the half, Bills, a 16-14 lead on the Chiefs in what coming in game of the week in terms of just expectation, importance, how much people were looking forward to it. Good that it was in the 4 o'clock window, or is, in the 4 o'clock Eastern window, because, more eyeballs on it and all of that, a little less red zone attention to, bouncing around through the Octabox and 8 different games and all that good stuff. But in terms of halftime betting opportunities on this game, guys, so the Bills right now are 2.5-point favorites, again, leading by 2. The total is 53.5. We've been talking a lot about the total throughout this game. In terms of player props, and Joe, start with you if anything does jump out at you, catches your eye. So I'm looking here. Both quarterback overs are intriguing to me. Allen is at 167. His line is 287.5. Mahomes is at 98. You need to get him to 224.5. Again, these are, two guys that have a propensity to throw the ball, and this is a very close game. Of note, Travis Kelce does not have a single yard in this game. His live line is at 27.5. Why don't we start there?
No, this is the leg that's going to absolutely kill my parlay, Adam. I can't believe he doesn't have any receiving yards out there. I actually altered it outside of my parlay. So that number was in the 60s. I altered it up to 80 plus. We know he's been getting targeted in other games. We're not seeing those targets yet for Travis Kelce, but I do think in the second half of the game, they get him into play here. I take the over 27.5 in a heartbeat at minus 114. I think I'd even alt it up to 40 plus, 45 plus, 50 plus receiving yards for Travis Kelce in the second half of this game, because I really do think he comes out nice and strong. Now, as for my parlay, we were able to cash Von Miller already for the sack for the Buffalo Bills on Patrick Mahomes. I need Chris Jones to get one here on Josh Allen in the second half. And I also need Travis Kelce to go over that rushing prop, the original number of 60 and change, and Josh Allen to go over his rushing prop, which coming into this game was right around 30. It's right around 30 right now. He has 13. I'd still look at Josh Allen to be able to do so. I think he's going to have to put the weight of this game on his back at some point in this one. So James Cook, it's funny. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns, only 17 rushing yards, you guys. That's crazy. I thought that number would have been higher already for him. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, Kansas City has been moving the ball up and down the field as Buffalo has. They got their 14 points, and yet you're getting nothing out of Kelce. Same thing, and you really got almost nothing out of DeAndre Hopkins too. So they're 2 best offensive receiving weapons anyway, and you got almost zilch out of them. And here they are, a field goal away, 2 points off the lead. So I'm going to stay away from Kelce. I got him in my SGP as well, Joe, and that may end up being the undoing of mine, much like it might be yours. I'm going to go here with Mahomes. He's over under reception or attempts is 21, or completions rather, is 21.5. I could see him getting 22 and not getting his passing yards. I don't see him getting his passing yards 223.5 without getting at least the 10 more or 12 more receptions. So give me the completions rather than the yards with Mahomes. They're basically a dink and dunk team. That's what they are. Even more so this year than in years past, and I don't think that's going to change. They want to keep the ball away from Buffalo. So if you're going to do anything with Mahomes, to me that would be the one. It's a little juicy, minus 144, but he's got 10 completions. He needs 12 more. It's a close game. He'll get 12 in the second half.
Seahawks guys are moving the ball 1st and 10 at the San Francisco 21, trailing 10-6 right now. Now 1st and goal at the San Francisco 4 after a Jackson Smith and Jigba 17-yard grab. And so 4.5 minutes to go, third quarter in this one. The Seahawks in striking distance of a lead, even potentially, obviously, a field goal if the Niners can come up big over the next few downs. But fresh set of downs for the Seahawks. Live opportunity here on this one. Seahawks money line is at plus 128. The spread still has them as dogs, obviously, but the Niners not quite as heavy, minus 2.5. if you are of the belief that San Francisco is going to win this game, Scott, but allow points right here, would you like to jump in on San Francisco inside a field goal?
Yeah, this would be the one time, right? If you're going to double down, as we all like to do, if your bet's not going well, you got to figure Seattle first or second and goal from the one is probably going to score, right? So know that going into the bet you're going to make. It's down to 1.5 at even money if you bet San Fran. You got 3.5, almost 4 minutes left to go, third quarter. I mean, you take a step back. Are they going to lose? I mean, really? I mean, it's not impossible. This San Fran team keeps on showing week in, week out that they are not the team that we've been seeing over the last 2, 3, 4 years. But this would be the time. Knowing that, all right, Seattle just scored. Okay, so you're going to lay a 1.5. Basically, you got to win the football game. I'd be willing to do that with San Fran.
Kenneth Walker rushing touchdown. He's up to 10 for 43 in this one, and that has the Seahawks in front. Extra point pending, but it is 12-10, and San Francisco will be getting the ball back. Not a lot of time. I mean, plenty of time, but not a lot of time. When you consider, obviously, San Francisco only has 10 points in this game. We're looking at 18 and a half minutes of game time left. The extra point's good, so it's a 3-point game now, Joe.
Yeah, this is what I thought we would have been going into halftime at, right? Like I thought 23 points first half. I expected a higher scoring game between these two, but I was on the Seattle Seahawks coming into this game. And so for myself, I can't jump on the 49ers now unless I'm looking to middle. And I don't want to because I grabbed the Seattle Seahawks plus 5.5 and straight up on the money line. It's right around plus 220 coming into this game. And looking at them now, it looks like they did get the extra point on the board from what I'm seeing. So maybe not. Yeah, 13. Are we seeing it? Do you guys see if they got it or not? Because I'm seeing 13-10 still. But they're plus 120 on the money line for the Seattle Seahawks. If you like them, I would roll with them. They're proving that they can get things done here versus the 49ers. I'm just not impressed with the 49ers so far today and going into this game. And I know Christian McCaffrey is back, but I think he ends up getting over those receiving numbers. Scott, you called it out at halftime between these two teams. We've seen him get 12, and then Adam, you took the receptions to the over as well, and he's already got 2. So Christian McCaffrey should have success in the rest of this game. I think it's Seattle's game to win in this one. So I can't do anything live at the moment, you guys.
Did Deebo Samuel, and I know they're about to have the ball, so the quarter's not over, but does Deebo even have a target in this third quarter? That after it felt like at the end of the opening half, they were maybe starting to kind of figure, we should probably pass to Deebo Samuel. And he, got a 12-yard pickup or whatever it was to, close out the half. And ultimately they didn't score any points, but nevertheless, they were moving the ball. And now here we are again. Brock Purdy only has 95. This is why I didn't want to go to Purdy at 200 plus passing yards. We're almost at the end of the third quarter, guys, and he's still not at 100. He could get there. I know he could get there. I'm not saying it's bet's dead or anything like that, but this offense is just not clicking so far. And I don't know. I'm more inclined to say that they're just sort of sputtering, and it's I don't know, trying to figure things out with no Kittle and reacclimating CMC. I can't give credit to the Seattle defense because I know how bad that defense is. I just can't do it. But, who knows? Maybe we'll get a pick 6 and I'll have to. 13-10. Seattle is leading this one. Niners, let's go.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on Sports Grid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Niners ball, final couple minutes of the third quarter, trailing by 3 after the latest touchdown in this game. There haven't been many of them. Seahawks and Kenneth Walker with a rushing score. So we'll see. Christian McCaffrey, you know, he's hit all the overs now that we discussed earlier. He's at 3 catches, 22 receiving yards. So just like that, CMC has become the guy, the focal point in this offense today after a slow start. He has 52 on the ground on 13 carries, 4 per. And again, he has become the main option for Brock Purdy in the passing game. That part is a little unsettling for me. If you want to lean on him to help move the chains, I'm all for it. Whatever gets the job done. Look, there are a lot of people out there, I'm included in this, that need San Francisco today, at least on the money line, never mind to cover. But you've got other weapons, man. I mean, 6 for 56, Juwan Jennings, awesome, good for you. I just don't understand the lack of involvement for Deebo Samuel, who's been targeted only 5 times, his 3 catches, 20 yards, and basically has been, you know, a ghost here in this second half. Hasn't even been really looking in his direction, and I guess that's a credit to some degree to Seattle's coverage. But at the same time, this is someone who, as we talked about, has torched Seattle in his half dozen meetings that he has faced them in his young career. And so we'll see what happens. End of 3 there, San Francisco and Seattle. The other scores of the games that are happening right now, it is the Chiefs with the ball, early third, down 16-14. We talked about this one quite a bit at halftime. And, of course, the Falcons, they've got the ball. They're in their own territory, and it's a lost cause, down 28-6 to the Broncos right now. If it were 28-3, that'd be a lot funnier. About 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. And so anything live opportunity-wise, Scott, that jumps out at you?
Well, let me go to San Fran for a second here. I'm willing to double down on them. I really am, because this may sound crazy, guys, but if they don't win this football game and they drop to 5-5,
they might not make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, look at their schedule after today. At Green Bay next week, not easy. At Buffalo the following week, not easy. All right, Chicago at home should be a win. Rivalry game against the Rams won't be easy. Detroit, at Miami the following week, won't be easy if the Dolphins continue to win. Then Detroit won't be easy, and then they close out at Arizona. I mean, that is just like, outside of that Bears game at home, that's a tough gauntlet. And if they go to 5-5, and they fall a couple of games behind Arizona, they'll be behind Seattle as well. their season, it's not that far-fetched to say their season could be on the line today unless they really just, change the way they're playing right now. So that said, hopefully the desperation kicks in. Hopefully they are able to win. You're getting them at less than a field goal still. They're driving a little bit. They got a third down at the Seattle 40-yard line. So give me San Fran, one more time. If you didn't put them in, maybe that kind of convinced you the sense of urgency that the Niners should have right now for winning this football game.
Yeah, for myself, no, because I'm on the Seattle Seahawks, so I can't even touch it. You guys don't want the 49ers to win it. I'm looking for the Seahawks to come out, but it's okay. We can be on opposite sides, right? We can stay friends.
Listen, they're playing well. Right? They're playing well. Yeah, I mean, you got the lead, and they're giving you plus 134. I mean, there's nothing, closing out the third quarter. That's not a bad play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not at all. I think it's a strong play looking at the Seattle Seahawks there. We know this team has shot themselves in the foot in a couple of these games this season, though. So you guys probably will get the win with the 49ers. They are the offense overall in the season you can trust more, I think. But we'll see. We'll see who gets it done in the end. I'm looking at Courtland Sutton still for that touchdown for the Denver Broncos. You look at his targets out there. He's been targeted 7 times in this game. He's got 55 receiving yards on 6 receptions. No touchdown as of yet, and it's the value that is selling me, you guys, for the Denver Broncos. Courtland Sutton for the anytime touchdown in this game. And yes, they're up big, so you wouldn't expect that passing touchdown, but Bo Nix is looking to set records here, you guys. He's having a fantastic game for himself, right? He's already got 3 passing touchdowns. Courtland Sutton plus 1,800. It's worth a sprinkle. I wouldn't put a huge bet on it. I wouldn't even put a full unit. I'd put a quarter of your normal unit size on Courtland Sutton to be able to get in the end zone today.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be throwing the ball very much. So,
yeah, I mean, at some point they're going to just decide to sort of run clock and quite literally run the football, but not there yet. I mean, Bo Nix is still moving the ball with his arm, so we'll see. While we have sort of a break in the action, not a lot happening in these 3 games in this moment, we can look back at some of the action from earlier today. We already talked about the Lions' emphatic win over the Jaguars. Scott, you mentioned there were a couple of teams that you expected to have kind of bounce back spots this week. There are a few really that I had circled, whether they were coming off a win or not. Like you said, the Lions, they were coming off a win, but they played very poorly. And so I thought they were going to have a resounding win today, and that exceeded my wildest dreams. Another team that was coming off a very narrow win, ironically, against the team the Lions beat today, the Jaguars. I expected Minnesota to respond accordingly today in Tennessee against Will Levis and the pathetic Titans. And we got that. It wasn't a commanding win per se, but it was 23-13, covered the number. They were roughly touchdown favorites. Sam Darnold was good enough, 224 passing, couple of touchdowns. Aaron Jones was not nearly as good as I expected him to be, quite frankly. Didn't even get to 40, rushing yards, had barely over 40 all-purpose yards, but you had touchdowns out of Jordan Addison. He had a 47-yarder in this one. Cam Akers scored a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, solid game, 6 for 81 in this one. But more to the point, Titans continue to stink, and the Vikings move to 8-2. They are close. I'm not saying they're on the same level as the Lions. They're not, Joe, but they're coming pretty close to keeping pace in the standings.
Yeah, I like this Vikings team. I think they have so many weapons offensively. They've got a strong defense, a defense that's shown a little bit of regression over the last couple of weeks, but a defense that I do have faith in to get back into this and have really strong numbers. Now, they're nowhere near the level of the Detroit Lions. I do think they are the top team in the whole league right now, even though it's the Kansas City Chiefs that are undefeated. But this Vikings team is solid and strong. I like them out there.
San Francisco, 1st and 10 at the Seattle 20. You'll never guess, but Jennings, another big catch. Just locked in. Brock Purdy loves him. Either way, let's get a touchdown for the Niners, shall we?
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
San Francisco first and goal at the Seattle 8. Jennings has just been a force in this game. 8 for 83 in this one for San Francisco. He has been, he's caught everything thrown his way, courtesy of Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey, 3 for 22. Deebo Samuel, 3 for 20. Those are the receiving numbers, obviously. McCaffrey is 16 for 68 on the ground. Most importantly, we're looking for a San Francisco touchdown. At least some of us are. I know Joe's not. I am. Scott is.
I am.
And
they had
we're selfishly rooting for our own wallets. I know.
Yeah. What do you think? Seattle chance. San Fran's down 3. What would you have done? They ran a play. It set up 4th and 1 from the 21-yard line or so, or actually 16-yard line. So instead of 4th and 1, there was a holding penalty against San Fran that set up 3rd and 11. They took the penalty, got the first down. If it was 4th and 1, if they would have declined the penalty, Seattle, do you think San Fran would have kicked the field goal to tie the game, or do you think they would have gone for it on 4th and 1?
I would have thought they would have gone for it. What would you think, Adam? You'd have to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Either way, I'm passing touchdown to, go figure, Jennings. Wow. I mean, honestly, it's at the 3-yard line. You can't give CMC a look. For those of us with a CMC anytime touchdown, again, I'm getting greedy. I'm rooting for a lot of different things specifically that I want. I want the script to go my way. I want the NFL script writers to look in my direction. But we got a Niners touchdown here. 9.5 to go fourth quarter. Now will the defense hold up, obviously, against Seattle. But 16-13, extra point pending. Opportunity to make this a 4-point game here in a moment. As far as the other games and there it is, 17-13. Broncos continue to be decimating the Falcons, 28-6, and it is still Bills on top of the Chiefs, 16-14. No offense thus far for either team in the first half of the third quarter. Any surprise there, Scott? Because we've been talking a lot about the total. It's down to 48.5. Got as high as what? 54.5, I think.
Yeah, 54.5 after Kansas City had scored late second quarter to make it, 14-13 at the time. And then we pointed out that it actually lowered after Buffalo kicked a field goal there, which to me indicated I thought they were expecting a whole lot more points, but so far nothing. We had a game in college yesterday, Joe. Which one was it, right? They had scored 63 63 points in the first half. They were giving us like over-unders in the 90s, Adam, and then we had no points in the third quarter. I forget which game it was. But
I don't know about you guys. I have this conversation with people all the time when I'm doing shows. Like with Brady and I will do the Saturday night show after you guys, and we'll talk about this. As soon as I don't care what the tone of the game is, what's happening in the game. When I see a college game and a live total get into the 90s, that is just an auto under bet for me. And I'm not saying it's going to win 100% of the time. We've obviously seen some games, hit 100 points this year, but it is super rare. Usually it's very front-loaded scoring, and you'll get that number ballooned up into the 90s, and maybe it'll settle somewhere in the 60s or 70s, very rarely 80s. It's not going to hold. 90-some-odd% of the time, it's not holding at that number.
Yeah, well,
it's just hard to
I can't remember what game it was. Yeah, what game was it? That's going to bug me because it wasn't. We were on the yeah.
No, wasn't.
You'll probably tell me that it was a game that actually scored 100 points.
No, it didn't. It's not. It finished with like 83, 84. So all those, you know what's crazy about it is, much like this Kansas City game, they give you a number that's so enticing. You're like, well, I got 30 points at halftime. What? I'm not going to get to 53, and in the second half, 3 touchdowns plus only. After I've seen teams go up and down the field, and yet it just something crazy at halftime happens where all the drama and all the energy and all the whatever, it just stops sometimes. Really is kind of weird.
Yeah, it really is.
Bo Nix did hit that in-game passing number, by the way. He's at 266. I think in part because they just can't run the ball. I'm looking. They barely have 70 rushing yards as a team, and I know they've got that'll change. They've got basically a whole fourth quarter to go. They just kicked a field goal, so it's not like they're giving up on trying to score and just killing clock. 31-6. I don't know. Maybe this is Denver kind of wanting to not. I don't want to say make a statement. Denver's not that good, but maybe it's the Broncos saying like, "Hey, take us seriously. Like we're capable of hanging." For all the people that were like jumping on Atlanta as a dog, like I was, no, like we're here. We're capable.
Sean Payton's making a statement, that's for sure.
Well, listen, it's either that or coach's kid's high school team or something like that. So I don't know. We'll come back.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, "Oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you."
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
"Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben." Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
This is in-game live pro football game day here on Sports Grid. 90 minutes to go here in the show, about an hour away from Brady Cannon hopping on to help us preview Bengals Chargers Sunday Night Football. Another one that at least should be fun on paper, I think. I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious what these two, Scott and Joe, have to say about it. Brady as well when he hops on, and which way people are leaning. It's a virtual pick'em, some interesting prop situations, the return of T. Higgins from his injury. What will Jamar Chase do? He's a matchup nightmare, all that stuff. But we've got a couple of very compelling games going on right now, not including, of course, the Broncos and Falcons. That game's early fourth with Denver running away, soon to be literally running away, 31-6. You got to think they start to run the ball. Seattle has the ball, and 3rd and 5, approaching midfield. Niners after that touchdown. Now it's a 4th and 1 at the 50 coming up here. So interesting decision here on the part of the Seahawks coaching staff. About 7 minutes to go. I feel like you have to go for it, obviously. San Francisco is up 17-13 in this game. And then about 5 minutes to go, third quarter still, so a ways. The Chiefs and Bills, no score in the third quarter specifically. But as we sit overall, Bills are leading this one at 16-14. Same as it was, obviously, at the half. In fact, the second quarter is really when we got the bulk of the offense. 24 of the 30 points coming in that second quarter. And so Chiefs they're 3rd and 14. So looking for a long completion at the KC 39 if they can attempt to move the sticks and keep this drive alive. But the Bills defensively doing a hell of a job. Seahawks did convert. Kenneth Walker picked up 4. So 1st and 10 now at the San Francisco 46. Scott, what are we thinking as far as the Seahawks and where things stand right now as they move into San Fran territory?
Yeah, listen, I'm not happy about San Francisco. I got them at a number of teasers and moneyline parlays, so I just forget about covering the 6.5. I just need them to win here. This would have been the perfect opportunity to show the world it's the old San Francisco. You take the lead, you stop the opposing team 3 and out. You get the ball back and you score another touchdown and basically the ball game's over. But nope, Seattle's, staying in this thing. You got an over-under of 30. No more field goals, at least not from Seattle, right, at this point, down 4. So you want to play over 36.5 if you want to kind of hedge your bet a little bit because there's no way the game's not going to go over without Seattle winning the football game. So maybe a little parlay if you want to really take advantage of it. Take Seattle plus 3.5 and the over if you want to capitalize on something like that. But I'm rooting on San Fran here, guys. We need the Niners. We need McCaffrey. We need Samuel to just show up. I mean, I don't know what – it's amazing. We hit the McCaffrey stuff. We still need a couple more yards out of Debo. I don't get why he's not been part of this offense, but he hasn't so far today.
Scott,
more than a couple. I can cash a parlay if somehow Debo gets to 60, but long way to go. The Chiefs did punt, by the way, so the Bills get the ball back up by 2, about 4 minutes to go in the third. But sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're seeing that pressure coming on Geno Smith in this drive by the Niners here. The thing is, Nick Bosa isn't on the field now. Scott, you called it on one of our commercial breaks. Something did happen to him out there on the field. So he's standing on the sidelines with his helmet off. I'm not sure if he's going to return. Have you guys heard anything there with Nick Bosa? It looks like we might have seen the Seahawks get that pass. I'm not sure if he got in or if he caught it. They're reviewing that pass from Geno. But yeah, the 49ers are bringing that pressure right now, you guys.
I'm doing a quick little search on, he aggravated his hip injury, Nick Bosa. This is according to
it did look good.
Pro Football Talk. Came up limping, hasn't returned. Niners have confirmed that he injured his hip, but hasn't been anything as far as, won't return or anything like that. No official designation at all for Bosa as we sit at the moment.
Yeah, it didn't look good. He was rushing. One of those injuries where he didn't get hit. And, 9 times out of 10, not always, but, more times than not, when you're injured without being hit, it's not a good sign. He was trying to rush the guy and something gave out, and he hobbled off the field. I'd be surprised, without being a doctor, but I would be surprised the way he looked if he was going to get back into that football game.
Yeah, we're seeing
the
Denver
doctor
Broncos.
plays one on Sports Grid TV.
Exactly.
That's play one. I love it. The Denver Broncos just got in the end zone again. It wasn't Cortland Sutton, but We did see another touchdown, Humphrey getting the touchdown out there. I can't believe they're still passing the ball. I tell you, they're looking to set records here with Bo Nix for his rookie year in this game. This is the best we've ever seen him play, right? 4 passing touchdowns. How many passing yards?
307, 307 passing on 28 of 33. Incredibly efficient. The 4 passing touchdowns, as you mentioned, he has a passer rating of 145. He has been excellent. Wow. Cortland Sutton, 7 for 78. Vele's up to 4 for 66. Pardon me. Lil Jordan Humphrey, 4 for 52 with a touchdown. Mims has a touchdown. Franklin, Adkins, both with touchdowns, and of course the solo rushing score out of Javonte Williams. They are starting to run just a little bit more. He's at about 60 overall. The team approaching the century mark. But yeah, this is a rout. Has been a rout, but is officially a rout. It's not quite Lions-Jaguars level, but we're not far off with 9 minutes still to go in the fourth quarter. It could get there if, Sean Payton and Bo Nix elect to keep their foot on the gas. But yeah, this for the Broncos, an opportunity to break away from the 500 mark. Peyton, he's been doing a lot of losing in recent years. Games like this, you have to imagine mean something to him. After doing a lot of winning, obviously, in his time with the Saints, this is an opportunity to get back above 500, stay in the thick of the playoff race. They get to 6-5, just to let people know where things stand. The cutoff at the Commanders, who are 7-4. So you have a little bit of a gap. Because obviously the Broncos aren't going to, win their division. Pardon me, I was looking at the NFC. But either way, Broncos are not going to win their division. But they are sitting in the 7 seed. So I take that back. They're 6-5. They would be all alone in the 7 seed. They'll be all alone regardless because the Colts are at 5-6 in the 8 seed. But, breathing down their necks makes a big difference, obviously, if you can be 6-5 and have that game lead on Indianapolis. And then Dolphins, who had that nice win over the Raiders today that we haven't discussed yet, improved to 4-6. The Bengals, immensely important game tonight to try and improve to 5-6 to jump up the standings board just a little bit. But yeah, look, the Broncos are not a team coming into the year, Scott, that I would have taken at all seriously as a playoff team. In fact, I probably thought, I'm trying to remember exactly what I thought. I definitely had them third, if not maybe even fourth in that division. I had the Chargers and clearly the Chiefs ahead of them. So the fact that they're sitting here in a playoff spot, it shocks me. It borderline shocks me. And but here they are on their way to an emphatic win today.
Yeah, their win total was 5.5, so they're going to go over their win total with this victory today. This is big. The Colts thinking they beat the Jets, Dolphins thinking they beat the Raiders. All right, any kind of luck would get the Falcons to beat the Broncos, and the Colts would be tied for that final playoff spot, and the Dolphins would be just one back, and then Cincinnati's got an opportunity tonight, same thing. But, the Broncos hold serve. Good job by them. And all those props we talked about as far as the halftime stuff with those wide receivers and Williams, the running back, they all hit because Denver continued to throw the football. That really was – they were giving you basically next to nothing. Like, they thought Denver was up 50, and they weren't going to throw the ball at all. So if you chose all three, great. If you took one of the three that we talked about, they all went over their number. So nice job, Vegas.
See, what do we say here, Joe? It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
There you go.
It definitely is. Definitely is, you guys out there. We're seeing a couple things happening right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So the big news though is not the Broncos, commanding win in the making over the Falcons. It's that the Niners have gotten the ball back up 17-13 with about 4 minutes to go. They were able to contain the Seahawks. Just want to see exactly. I saw it was 4th and 1. I'm assuming, because I don't have it up in front of me. Yeah, I assume they went for it and just, easy to say now. I get it. Would a field goal have been such a terrible idea? Honestly, you make it a 1-point game. You hope you get a stop, you get the ball back. I don't know. Maybe you had to. Maybe you had no choice. Either way, San Francisco can try and bleed out the clock. 4 minutes to go, up 4.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
In-game live pro football game day. 3 games in progress, 2 that actually matter. The Niners, 17-13 lead right now against the Seahawks with about 4 minutes to go in regulation. San Francisco has the ball, has moved the ball to midfield. McCaffrey, 11-yard run, and so that has them to 1st and 10 at the 48 for San Fran. End of 3. We got a ways to go in this one. Something to sweat over the final hour of the program here. 16-14 Bills continue to lead the Chiefs in this one. The offense clearly has slowed down a lot. No points in that third quarter, but nevertheless, interesting game. And Buffalo poised to try and change that, by the way. 1st and 10 at the KC 27 when they begin the fourth and final quarter. So we'll see. In terms of live betting opportunities on that one, we'll have some time a little bit later to continue looking back at some of the games that happened earlier. Scott, Joe, looking Buffalo minus 3.5. Again, looking at it with points potentially on the way here for the Bills. They're in field goal range if they don't screw it up. 3.5 points, the live line. The total has dipped down to 44.5.
I would wait personally because I'm on the Kansas City Chiefs. So I would wait here, see if we can get a better number on the Kansas City Chiefs. You give Patrick Mahomes the ball with any time left on the clock, and he's able to get something done. So let's see what the Buffalo Bills are able to do. Scott, I know you had an opinion on this. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I listened to kind of the same thing. I do like Kansas City still, but just ultimately, I still think they're going to find a way to win this thing. You're not getting a great number considering where Buffalo's got the ball right now at the 18-yard line. So you got to figure you got to get at least a field goal out of this thing here, right? So you're only getting 4.5. So that would be dumb because if they score a touchdown, I think the 4.5 would probably go up a little bit. Not that you're not, with the whole fourth quarter basically left, but I would wait, Joe, like you said. 4.5 to me, if you're down 9, we'll say, I wouldn't be want to hold in that 4.5 ticket when they pump out 6.5 or at least 5.5 anyway.
Yeah.
Looking at this Niners and Seahawks game, and I was looking at some slips too, and I had completely forgotten that I had Debo at a pathetic 25 yards as part of a parlay. Just a builder. Just need Debo 25 yards, and you know what else? Rushing and receiving combo. I didn't even get greedy on a particular category, and because of his -1 rushing, not that was going to hook me. Yet, I mean, I guess if he picked up 5 receiving, then it would. But right now, he's sitting at 20, 3 of 5 for 20 receiving yards and just, again, not involved today at all, which it had us like scouring the, Twitter sphere looking for injury updates or something like that. And he has been out there. He has just not been involved. It has been McCaffrey. It has been
Kittle,
Jennings. It continues to be Jennings. What?
Yeah, and this is without Kittle. You know what this tells you? It tells you as good as Deebo Samuel is, right? And he's good. You take him on your team, forget about the salary. You take him on the team. But when he's getting the focus of the defensive backs, he's telling me he's really not good enough to overcome that. But when you have Kittle on the field and Ayuk on the field, who's not there, obviously, either, now it's all, when you don't have those two guys on the field and everyone's looking at Deebo Samuel, right? I don't care if you're triple teaming a guy. Justin Jefferson will find a way to get open. Jamar Chase will find a way to get open. Pick another. Ty Hill will find a way somehow, some way to get open. And Samuel is showing the world that he can't find a way. He's not on that level because all the attention is on him. So, you still would have thought he would have had more than 3 receptions for 20 yards. He hasn't had a reception in the second half. I think they've only thrown to him one time. I know he had 3 for 20 to close out the first half, and that's what he has right now. They may have thrown him the ball one time in the second half, so they're not even looking his way, guys.
Yeah, the defense is all over him as well. We've seen the touchdown for the Buffalo Bills that you guys were waiting for. Samuel able to get that receiving touchdown. The Buffalo Bills are now 23-14 over the Kansas City Chiefs. The books are not giving you much wiggle room on the Kansas City Chiefs. It was plus 4.5 before. Now that extra point has come in. We've got 5.5 only with the Chiefs. I thought they would have given us more value. If you want to look at that money line, plus 340, you guys, straight up on the money line. I did want to throw something at you guys, though. It's interesting because Cousins has been benched here for the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Penix Jr. coming out for them. He's actually been able to move the ball. 2 of 4. He got 1 long pass of 20 yards, 4 yards on the other one. Are the Falcons now live to cover that spread, backdoor cover here, or are you guys just done with the Atlanta Falcons? Because I don't want to touch them. I want your guys' opinion, though.
I've moved on, but go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I thought you meant the original number. I'm like, no, they're not getting 5 touchdowns. But the 31.5, it's 4th and 18. So, no, I would stay off that. But you might get the ball back one more time. I doubt they'd be calling timeouts. So, but, if Denver doesn't get 2 first downs, you might get the ball back. They're giving you 31.5, so they need to score. Plus 265, though. That plus 265 is always an attraction to me. So I might put a couple shekels on that, Joe. Why not?
Hey, it's great plus money.
It is poetic, by the way, that Brock Purdy finally looked toward Deebo Samuel with an incomplete pass at almost the same moment that Curtis Samuel scored his touchdown. At least some Samuel was catching a ball. But Buffalo Bills, as Joe alluded to, up now 23-14 after that latest TD. And this one has still an eternity to go if your name is Patrick Mahomes. 12 minutes and change left in regulation, and the Bills on top 23-14. But the quick math will tell you 9 points. The Chiefs do need multiple scores. Can it happen? Of course. Mathematically, they are not out of this thing. They have time. That's 2 possessions, maybe even not even 2 full possessions if they can force the Bills into a mistake and get a scoop and score or pick six or whatever it may be. Short field opportunity, quick field goal. There are so many different ways the Chiefs can beat you. However, the Bills right now are in command. We are looking at Buffalo minus 5.5-point favorites on the live line. We'll talk more about that game. Peek in at the Niners and Seahawks, who I think we're going to get a San Francisco punt or an incredibly long field goal try, but I think more than likely a punt and then relying on a defensive stand to try and contain the Seahawks. It is 17-13 in that one. More on the way. IGL Pro Football Game Day here on Sports Grid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
We are back. This is In-Game Live Pro Football Game Day here on Sports Grid. And the Chiefs, they've got the ball down by 9 points, 23-14, 11 minutes left in regulation. The Seahawks back with the ball. They are deep in their own territory, 1st and 10 at the Seattle 31. San Francisco leading that game by 4. So the Niners in need of a stop if they can get it. If you're looking for more points for the cover, I would say that's not going to happen, barring a mistake that leads to points. I think if the Niners get a stop here, it's just going to be kneel out the clock, obviously. And so we'll see. But there's a lot of time left, including the 2-minute warning here in this one. And the Falcons, they're just, for anyone that invested the plus 31.5, as we talked about before, they're just trying to cover the number for you. Michael Penix is out there. They're driving. They're at the Denver 41, 3rd and 1 on the way. They've hit the 2-minute warning, trailing by 32 points. You could still invest at the plus 31.5 at plus money, plus 162. Chiefs, that quickly, guys, have moved into the red zone. 10 minutes to go in the fourth. This is what I mean. It's an eternity for Patrick Mahomes. There is no counting them out. 1st and 10, Buffalo 16 now after a big pickup down by 9 points. Just looking quick scan to see how we got here, basically. Let's see. Kareem Hunt is helping him move the ball. He's up to 58 on the ground. Xavier Worthy, 4 for 61. Still minimal Travis Kelce in this game, by the way. 2 catches, 3 targets, only 8 yards. But Scott, Chiefs not dead yet.
Nope, not dead yet. Neither is Seattle. They're taking an hour and a half to look at a replay that should take 5 seconds. I mean, it was a pass to DK Metcalf that he clearly got his feet in bounds. I don't know why it's taken them an hour. They've been looking at this thing forever. So, but Seattle got the football, 2 minutes and 24 seconds left, needing a touchdown. Kansas City, yeah, that's why that 5.5, even though they were down 9, wasn't really, any other team that might be closer to 7. Or at least 6.5, 7, but Kansas City's good for the by the way. Not that this is even an by the way territory, but they weren't dead, that's for sure. So I don't know what happened to both offenses in the third quarter, but clearly it's picked up back here in the fourth quarter. 1st and goal now at the Buffalo 5, getting 4.5. I think that's a pretty good number. I think Kansas City scores here, and you're going to be under that 4.5 total, assuming that they would go for 1 and you'd be down only 2.
Yeah, I think they score on this one as well. It's Patrick Mahomes. I just don't know how he's able to get this done each and every game. You look at them in the fourth quarter and how strong they have been able to come out when they're trailing. And it looks like they just got another first down here. So moving the chains, I'm seeing 1st and goal on Buffalo's 5-yard line. So the Chiefs, ultimately, I still think they win this at plus 190. The Seattle Seahawks did win that challenge. The 49ers were challenging that catch that Scott talked about of Metcalf getting his feet in, and he did get his feet in. So they're driving down the field. They're 1st and 10 on their own 44-yard line. So we'll see if they're able to get something done here, you guys. There looks like there's a flag on Buffalo. Is the flag on Buffalo? Who's the flag on, you guys?
Yeah, it was. And so that brought the Chiefs to the 1-yard line now. And I'm looking at 2nd and goal at the Buffalo 1 for KC. I don't know how they don't just hand it off to Hunt and score the easy touchdown. Maybe they will. We'll see. They did try on the first down and for no gain. And so 2nd and goal, like I said, at the 1-yard line, the Chiefs needing multiple scores, 8.5 minutes to go. But a touchdown right here would go a long way to put the pressure on the Bills. There's no doubt about that. 2-minute warning, Seahawks and Niners. That game is sitting at 17-13 still, but Seattle with the ball, 1st and 10 at its own 44-yard line. So pretty close to midfield here, Scott.
Yeah. And I'm wondering also, just out of goofiness, would Atlanta kick a field goal down 38-6? I mean, under normal circumstances, no. But it's Michael Penix Jr. who's in there, and maybe you want to kind of reward the kid for, all right, you led the team back down the field to your second drive. Let's get some points and just be able to say we got a field goal anyway when he was at quarterback. I don't know, but they got the ball to Denver 34. 1:27 left. We got a shot at this thing. If you took the 31.5, who knows? Maybe we get a long touchdown pass as well. So touchdown. Speaking of which, Kansas City, Adam. So now it's 23-20, pending the extra point. Just like that, Kansas City shows its true colors.
Yeah, and Noah
Second
Gray.
of the day for Noah Gray as well.
Yeah, it's pretty
Wow,
impressive.
I think we're saying the same thing. Yeah.
How tight he was in that corner, too, and just open back there. So pretty impressive that he was able to get both his feet in that situation. They're just taking the extra point. They're not going for 2. Would you have gone for 2, Scott?
No,
What's the
you got to
advantage?
cut it. You got to make it a 2-point game.
Yeah, at least because now you're not playing for a tie with a field goal. You have an opportunity to win if you can get a stop. But Bills lead 23-21. Still just under 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record.
I have had the worst luck on these builder parlays lately, where it's like I need a guy at 10 points, he scores 8. That kind of thing. 25 yards gets
only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
This thing's not nearly over. Seahawks down 17-13 to the Niners in San Francisco, but we are down to the final 40 seconds, and Seattle is 1st and 10 at the San Francisco 21. Back with Scott and Joe. I am Adam. Hi. Look, we know we're not going to overtime. You know, it's a 4-point game, so this is a question of, is Seattle going to win or is San Francisco going to win? I know that we, amongst the three of us, we're rooting for different situations here. That's fine. That happens, obviously. But, Scott, what do you believe ends up happening here?
Well, no, when I got San Fran, there's no doubt in my mind Seattle scored a touchdown here. There's no doubt. So, you know, the one time I need Geno, and I love Geno. I'm like the only guy in the world that actually likes this guy. The one time I need Geno to be Geno is the one time he's going to come through. They got it down to the 13-yard line. I can't believe the San Francisco defense is going to let us down. And so did the offense, because they punted the ball back to Seattle with 2.5 minutes left rather than being able to get a couple of first downs to run out the clock. So I think Seattle just, well, maybe not. But, yeah.
No, Seattle's at the 13 now, 2nd and 2.
Yeah. They just showed like minus 100 to 1 on Seattle. So something tells me Seattle scored a touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, 4,000 for the 49ers to get the win. They just flashed up as well.
Yeah. Geno scrambled in for 13.
Wow.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
With 12. I mean, this is the kind of loss, and there have been a few of them that we have seen so far from San Francisco this year. I mean, you go back through what the Niners have done. I'll pull up their schedule very quickly because, you know, provided, you know, we don't see the miracle, this is going to drop them to 5-5. You had that collapse against the Vikings, earlier this year. The Rams, that was even worse. You know, that was a game they were in command of and lost 27-24. Obviously lost to the Chiefs a few weeks back. Fine, that'll happen. But, you know, those early losses to Minnesota and in particular LA, and now this one, you're going to be looking at 5-5 and quite possibly not going to the playoffs, which, I mean, I've got a preseason ticket, a parlay of teams to make the playoffs. And I did not think San Francisco, as we'd be sitting here in week 11, would be a team I'd be worried about. But injuries have obviously been a big part of it along the way, but I don't want to make excuses. Injuries are not an excuse today. This is just a collapse. And same earlier this year against the Rams, that game of, you know, especially. I mean, just awful losses. Awful losses. I mean, you beat the Jets, fine, they suck. You beat the Patriots, fine, they suck. You beat the Seahawks earlier this year, and you did so shorthanded. Okay, but Seattle is not very good, and I say that in the face of what's happening right now. Cowboys below. Buccaneers injury-plagued, not very good. You know, this very disappointing here, Joe.
Yeah, Geno Smith was able to run in that touchdown himself with his legs wide open to the far side of the field, and the extra point was good. So the Seattle Seahawks have left 12 seconds on the board for the San Francisco 49ers, down 17-20 right now. Do you guys think Brock Purdy can lead this team? If this was Patrick Mahomes, I would say yes, the Kansas City Chiefs have a chance of driving down the field with 12 seconds left on the board. Can the 49ers? Can Brock Purdy drive down the field? What do you guys think?
Well, listen, they got one timeout, and you can make the claim that San Francisco, and I'm not a big, Kyle Shanahan fan, but they should have used that timeout when they were on defense. Time was not the factor anymore for Seattle. So they should have used that timeout then and saved themselves a good 30 seconds more. Listen, it only takes one shot, right? You only need a field goal, depending on how, we've seen 60-yard field goals. So you need to get, 35 yards here. After the kickoff, and then hopefully you could kick a 60-yarder. That would be, it's not going to necessarily be easy. Is it impossible? Where's Deebo Samuel? If Samuel was ever going to show up, Joe and Adam, this would be the time, right? But again, knowing I got San Fran, it's not happening.
No, I mean, look, overtime would feel like a miracle right now. There are 7 seconds left. Niners are at the San Francisco 32, and so, you got to pick up. You got to pick up whatever 60 yards and or 50 yards anyway, and get yourself out of bounds in the process because San Francisco just used its final timeout.
What a stupid play that was. Did you see that? They threw a 3-yard pass. It looked like Samuel or whoever caught it was going to lateral it. I get that, but, you have 12 seconds. Here's the listen, offensive coordinators for San Fran.
It was Deebo. He picked up 2 yards. Deebo. Great.
Yeah. Here's awesome. What you do, San Francisco, all right? Just send me my $10,000 check that I charge for giving you guys dopey advice here that you should know yourselves, but you don't. You have 12 seconds, right? That's 3 plays, all right? 2 regular plays and 1 second left for a field goal. First play is going to be a 10-yard and out. Get it out of bounds, get it to the 40-yard line. That takes about 3.5 seconds. And if you saw the replay of it, the whole left side was wide open for someone to do that. Second play, then you throw down the middle of the field. You get it to the opposing team's 40-yard line realistically. You fall on the ground with 1 second left. You call your last timeout, and you send your field goal kicker on the field for a 57-yarder. You don't throw a stupid 3-yard pass play in the middle of the field. Ugh. Kyle Shanahan, I swear he'll never win a Super Bowl. He just won't.
I'm checking this week's Circus Survivor. Yeah. Checking this week's Circus Survivor selections. They're entering the week. 105 live entries of the 14,200 some odd that we're in at the beginning of the season, obviously chasing that $14 million prize. And 34 had the Lions. You moved on. 31 had the Dolphins. Congrats. 11 on the Packers. You squeaked by. Good on you. 11 for the Vikings. Got the job done. 7 for the Rams. You move on. 5 for the Texans. We wait to see. 4 for the Niners. Just went down in chaotic fashion, obviously. And then 2 were on the Browns, if you could believe it.
Ooh.
And they lost as well. So, we are down below 100 entries live entering next week. And depending on what happens with the Texans, that number could get even lower.
Wow. I'm surprised people took the Browns on that. I got a feeling more people would have taken San Fran if they had San Fran available. Because all those others were a little bit. No, listen, I thought they were going to win today, but still, I think, I did like some of the others a little bit more. I don't think they're making it, Adam and Joe. I really don't. And it's not me being upset about this thing, but, at 5-5 and that schedule that we went over, they're just a mediocre football team. They're not getting any healthier. Bosa, that injury looked horrible. I don't know if he's going to be back, when he will be, but they're not a good team offensively. Second straight week, even last week against Tampa Bay in the win, didn't look good offensively. I don't think this team's making the postseason. What about you, Joe?
I don't think they are either. No, they're being an absolute mess. They're riddled with injuries still, especially getting Bosa out of this lineup again. He was questionable coming into this one, Trent Williams as well. And you look at, they pushed him back into this game, and maybe if they would have left him out, given him another week to heal, things would have been different for their playoff pitcher. But I think without Nick Bosa out there, CMC missed so many games. I think this team is going to continue to struggle down the stretch, you guys.
So, all eyes on the Bills and the Chiefs. The only game that is still in progress here on your Sunday as we wait for Chargers-Bengals Sunday Night Football. It is 23-21. The Bills are leading. About 3 minutes left in regulation. Buffalo has the ball. 3rd and 2, KC 26. A field goal makes this that much more difficult for KC if the Bills can get in. A touchdown, that might end it.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on Sports Grid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
I guess it's not over till the fat lady sings, which we just refreshed the Niners Seahawks. Don't worry, San Francisco still lost, but if you're like me and you need a Debo at 25 yards, some miracle catch that might have happened in the locker room after play concluded, he is at 5 for 26 now. I don't know when that happened exactly because, I mean, not that I watched every snap of this game, but following along in the box score, I don't know when this mystery catch happened or mystery target happened or mystery 4 yards happened that credit Deebo Samuel extra yardage long after the game has been completed. But here we are. Anyway, that's just me being selfish and talking about something that interests me. The Bills, they are leading 23-21, 2.5 minutes to go in regulation. This game in Buffalo, Kansas City's unbeaten streak and trying to, knock off, well, I guess the Lord already knocked off Mercury Morris, but trying to knock off Mercury Morris and the Dolphins, that is in peril right now, sitting at 9-0. 23-21, the Bills 8-2, looking for 9-2, trying to drop the Chiefs to 9-1. It's 4th and 2 at the KC 26. You have to kick a field goal. Like there's no other option here. Now it just comes back to, Joe, is Bass going to kick it and actually hit it?
That's a huge question mark, right? Like, what if Bass misses this one? And then you're giving the Kansas City Chiefs the ball with how much time left on the clock? I don't know if I'd take that chance. Yes, they should kick the field goal. But, Scott, I know you'll have something to say about this. What do they do? Right?
Well,
where do these
let's hope they don't call up Dan
even a field goal, Mahomes a touchdown wins it.
Yeah. Let's hope they don't call up Dan Lanning of Oregon. And that's what he would do.
Guys, I'm sorry. Oh, my God. Josh Allen scrambled and ran 26 yards for a touchdown.
Wow.
Holy crap. Now, talk about being aggressive. Wow. I thought for sure they'd take the 3-point. I get it, though. I do get it. And it goes, we talked about this earlier. It goes all the way back to the very beginning of the game where on the first possession, Buffalo scores and Bass misses the extra point. Because if the Bills are up by that extra point right here, so if it's, I got to do the mental math and remove this touchdown that just happened. So 6-20, they were up 3. So if they're up 4, if they're up 24-21, then you have a field goal opportunity, obviously. Right? It was 20. They just added 7. It was
two.
no, yeah,
they were up 2.
So it was.
They would have been
sorry,
up 3.
It was 20. Yeah, it was. They would have been up 3. Okay, and so if they kick that extra point earlier, well, it might have taken off the need mentally to go for the touchdown right there as opposed to the field goal. You get the field goal, yeah. I mean, you're up 27 to 21, a touchdown. I mean, I don't know, maybe it changes nothing, because obviously a Chiefs touchdown still puts you ahead and you still lose the game. So maybe my on the fly math here is worthless and it doesn't matter. Either way, credit the Bills for showing their stones in public and scoring that touchdown 30-21 after that extra point that did go through this time. Obviously, it's now a 9-point lead for Buffalo and a 2-possession game, and a game that in all likelihood, Joe, the Chiefs are not going to come back and win. Never say never, I realize, with Patrick Mahomes on the other side. 2 minutes and change to go, multiple timeouts available, but I don't see it. I think Buffalo's going to win this one.
As a Bolts fan, even though my money is on the Kansas City Chiefs plus the 2.5, I am grinning from ear to ear, Adam. This is what I want to see out there on the field. I wasn't brave enough to put my money on the Buffalo Bills, but my heart won the Buffalo Bills to get the win, hand Kansas City their first loss of the season, and kind of like put a little spin on this team's hopes of going undefeated, because now it looks like they're going to take the loss. You look at Josh Allen, and I knew he was going to come out so strong. He had to put the weight of this team on his shoulders, but so impressive. 57 rushing yards. His prop coming into this one was 30. I altered it to 50 plus. He's gone over that. 26 was his longest, 10 carries out there. How does he always look like Superman in these clutch situations out there, Scott?
Yeah, well, listen, they got the job done. I'm impressed that they went for it in that even if they got the first down, they still needed another first down. Like, that wouldn't have won the game.
Right.
Kansas City has 2 timeouts, plus the 2-minute warning. They were, past the 2-minute warning, so you would have had that. So it wasn't over, which is why that really makes that thing dangerous. But they went for it. Awful, just awful tackling by Kansas City on a scramble play. But I will say this, when everything is said and done, they're down 9. So what? Well, a touchdown, they're going to go for 1. They wouldn't go for 2. Is going to make them lose this game, Kansas City, by what? 2. What was the point spread? 2.5 if you put it in early enough, which means, Mahomes is on his way to maybe covering another role as an underdog. So a lot of teasers on the line here. You got that, and then you got a lot of teasers with Kansas City getting 8.5, right? So we need that, oh, by the way here, whether it's a field goal, because they do need a field goal if they think they're going to win the game, or a touchdown. So a lot in play.
Yeah, Chiefs, again, down by 9. 1st and 10 at the KC 41 at the 2-minute warning. So they are, not a couple of quick plays. They absolutely can either get themselves a field goal or get into the end zone. And so this game, it's not over yet. We'll continue to keep you posted on what is happening. In terms of some of the live stat looks in this one right now, Josh Allen, who is got to be the MVP favorite in the books right now, 262 passing, a touchdown, an interception. He is the rushing leader almost for the game, but for Buffalo, 57 has that rushing touchdown, the crucial one that put the Bills where they are right now. Kareem Hunt on the other side is the game's rushing leader with 60. Patrick Mahomes, 189 passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and good balanced attack by the Bills, man. Shakir, 8 for 70. Samuel, 5 for 58. Cooper, 2 for 55. Knox, talked about him earlier and how weak to tight ends the Chiefs are. 4 for 40. Even Mac Hollins, who came in barefoot to this game, 2 for 27. And still, no Travis Kelce. 2 for 8. 2 for 8 for Travis Kelce. How do you look yourself in the mirror after this game if you wind up losing? I don't know what the game plan is there, but very out of character for a guy who has been awesome since Rashee Rice went down. Not today. MIA. We'll continue to keep you posted. Again, 2-minute warning in this contest. Brady Cannon will join us shortly as well to look ahead to Sunday Night Football.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Just the books playing with my emotions. Deebo Samuel was at 5 for 27. I wondered how the hell that happened, and now back to 4 for 22. A lot of changes since this game went final. I don't know how he got a catch in yards and lost a catch in yards, but so it goes. Again, selfishly talking about my own parlays. Anyway, most importantly, Bills-Chiefs. $1:22 to go, fourth quarter, and the Chiefs, they do have the ball. They're sitting down by 9 points, so the game, it feels like it's over, but we'll see. It's 4th and 3 at the Kansas City 48, so very much need a first down here to keep this game even alive, but it's not like that automatically leads to points either. So I'm feeling pretty good about saying, guys, that this one is over. I know miracles can happen. We've seen it before, but 2 scores, man, I don't know that I see it. And, well, let's see. We got a penalty here. Offensive holding. It's going to be a rare penalty against Kansas City at a pivotal moment. We don't see those often. And so it's now going to be 4th and 13 all the way back at the KC 38, Joe.
Yeah, and we saw Mahomes scramble out there. 4th and 13. Man, I tell you, it's still Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, I don't want to bet against him for not being able to do something here on 4th and 13 at their own 38-yard line. So everything is locked on the books right now. Kansas City Chiefs fans are holding their heads in the stands. I don't know if I could bet if Patrick Mahomes would convert this drive. I'd bet yes before I bet no any day. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I hope so. I kind of doubt it, but, I hope so. They do need a feel. If this is a 13-yard, I'd like to see an official call that play in a 1-score close game. Yeah, they'll call it now in a 2-score game when odds are very, very good. Kansas City's not winning. Let me see them call that play when it's a 30-28 with a minute and a half left in Kansas City, needing a third or a 4th and 3 at that point.
Interception. Scott,
first down.
He got picked off. No, he got picked off.
No, Mahomes was picked off. Second time today. Happened all the way back at the beginning of the game and just happened to ice it. Bills are going to win. Chiefs unbeaten streak and, prayer for an unbeaten season is over. Now, they are still arguably the best team in the NFL. The best, well, I shouldn't say definitely. They are arguably the best team in the AFC because, how can you not credit the Bills for what they just did? I mean, they are built to beat Buffalo or to beat Kansas City. That is specifically how the Bills have been constructed. It is for one team and one team only, and it's to win this matchup come playoff time. Not even right now here in the regular season, come playoff time. And the Bills are going to win this one 30-21, guys. So that's going to drop KC to 9-1, still first in the conference, but up the Bills to 9-2. Scott, how, pardon me, all choked up even thinking about Kansas City losing. My goodness. How do we approach the postseason projecting ahead? Because we are still sitting in week 11. There's a long ways to go. Injuries can happen, all that. But if things exist as they do right now, we know what the Bills have done, adding Cooper, what the Chiefs have done, adding Hopkins, Rashee Rice isn't coming back. Kelsey, what he's capable of come playoff time. Didn't see it today, obviously. The Bills' not inexperience, I guess, in the playoffs, but inexperience winning in the playoffs, especially in this matchup. If these teams do ultimately go head-to-head, let's say in the AFC title game for a chance to represent the conference in the Super Bowl, who would your money be on?
Oh, it's still Kansas City. I still, after watching earlier today, I still think Pittsburgh or later on tonight, Cincinnati, believe it or not, if they could find their way in. I think those two offer a bigger challenge than what Buffalo does. I'm not a big believer in the Bills. I give them all the credit in the world. They won today. Stopped Mahomes, shut down Kelsey completely. Just an unexpectedly bad game for Mahomes. Couple interceptions, first drive, last drive. At this point, Kansas City is still going to have home field advantage. Now, Buffalo has the head-to-head tiebreaker, but you look at the Bills' schedule, you got to get a San Francisco team that's playing for its life next week. Then they got at the LA Rams, at Detroit. That's very tough. And then it gets easier with New England Jets and New England again. So chances are pretty good. Kansas City, I still believe, is going to have home field advantage. And I got to see a team go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. So, but if the defense plays like this is why I like Pittsburgh, because you got to have a team that's going to keep Kansas City realistically to 17, 21 points. Don't ask your offense to score 30, because more than likely it won't happen. But nice job by the Bills. Give them credit. But I still think Kansas City is the better team.
All right, we're going to talk a lot of Sunday Night Football. Brady Cannon's going to join us when we come back. Still one game in front of us today. It is the Bengals at the Chargers. Should be a fun one. Let's hope it lives up to the hype in prime time, because we'll be watching. We've got bets on the way.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Told me I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Back here on In-Game Live Pro Football Game Day, again, fresh off the Chiefs' first loss of the year, 9-1, unbeaten no more, falling in Buffalo to the rival Bills. Congrats to MVP favorite Josh Allen. I'm picking up the big win. We still have Sunday Night Football in front of us, though. It is the Chargers taking on the Bengals. Fascinating game for many different reasons, about as pick'em could be. The Chargers, point and a half favorites, depending on where you do your shopping. The total is in the mid to high 40s as well. There is a little bit of fluctuation there. We can get to that. But let us welcome in our first, last, and only guest here on the program, and that is Brady Cannon, my partner in crime here on Sports Grid on Saturday nights. Let's head, of course, you can see it, the Octabox with Brady, Scott, Joe. Brady, how are you? How's your day going?
Part of the quad box once again, feeling good on a Sunday evening here. Yeah, good to be with you guys. Interesting day in the NFL. I have to believe the sports books got pretty well beaten up in the morning. You know, there wasn't one unpopular team other than the Chicago Bears that won in the morning or covered the number. It was really all the favorites and the team. I mean, even the Colts were not a favorite in that game, but they had the majority of the bets and the money against the Jets. So I have a feeling the sports books took it in the chops in the morning, probably got a little back with the Seahawks in the afternoon, and we'll see if they can get home tonight. I imagine they're working or rooting for the Los Angeles Chargers here. We've seen the bulk of the activity on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, that's where we'll start right before we maybe go back to some of the earlier games. Brady, Cincinnati getting 1.5 on FanDuel anyway. Over under 48.5. How do you see this one playing out?
I like the Chargers all day long, Scott. I was really kind of surprised at this line. I mean, I've even seen a pick'em in the market here at the South Point in Las Vegas. My friends Jimmy Vaccaro and Chris Andrews and Vinny Maluilo over there have a pick'em up on their board and a 49 for the total. The total's kind of going back and forth. I've seen some other shops come down to 48. I would want to play under here. I'm going to sit and wait a minute and see if I can find maybe a 49.5 and probably play under. We know the Chargers are a dead under team. The Cincinnati defense worries me a little bit because if they allow the Chargers to score, 24, 26, 28 points, then maybe this thing does go over the total. But I think the Chargers will smother that Cincinnati Bengals offense. I think this defense is very, very good. Obviously a top 5 unit in the NFL, and their offense is starting to click as well. Justin Herbert has ascended into the top 10 in the NFL as far as yards per pass attempt. He's starting to build that chemistry with his receivers. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they're running the ball well. The Chargers are really starting to fire on all cylinders, and I think they're going to be a threat in the postseason. I don't think these teams are really that close. I don't think Cincinnati's very good. We've seen how poor their defense is. It feels to me like this line is representative of what we saw last week, where the Bengals gave the Ravens a real run and they put up 34 or 35 points on the board or whatever it was. Well, we know the Ravens defense is not very good at all. The Chargers defense is excellent, and their offense is pretty darn efficient and seemingly getting better every week. I think this is a pretty one-sided affair. I'll lay it with the Chargers and go under the total.
Brady, as a Chargers fan, it's music to my ears what you're saying, but also as a bettor, because we're on the same page with this game. I do think you could look at the Bengals team total under that 23.5, because the Chargers haven't allowed more than 20 points in a game if you're worried about the full game total. But you're right. I do think this should be a lower scoring game. What props are you looking at out there?
Yeah, I looked at a couple as far as the quarterbacks in this game, and I saw Justin Herbert under or over, I believe it was around 242.5 yards or so. I was considering maybe going over on Herbert. That's a fair amount of yards. Throwing for 250 yards is a pretty good amount. But I was thinking of maybe going over on Herbert because of that lack of defense for Cincinnati. And I was thinking about going under on Joe Burrow. His number was at like 262.5, I believe, when I checked on FanDuel. I think the Chargers will just smother this Bengals offense. I think that's probably the game plan, because if they can stop the Bengals offense, they should win this game easily. I have to believe that was the plan for Jim Harbaugh. Hey, stop this offense, just blanket this offense, smother them, whatever term you want to use, shut them down, hold them to 13 points or less like they've been doing with everybody else, and they should easily win the ballgame.
How should we feel about T. Higgins returning from injury while we're talking about props? You know, this is an interesting component to this game. You know, the Bengals offense getting to full strength. Ja'Marr Chase doesn't have to be that, you know, singular focus in the offense for Joe Burrow. His prop has come down a little bit, 75.5. But Higgins, who we haven't seen now in multiple games, returns with a prop at 57.5 in this one.
Yeah, you know, I'm not really sure what to make of it, Adam, but I would probably tend to lean over on Higgins and under on Chase. You got to believe Chase, like he is really for every opponent they face, he is a focal point for that defense. But more so than that, off of what he did last week, what was it, 250 yards receiving, some absurd number that he had against the Ravens. You have to believe the public is running to the window, you know, just betting that he's going to repeat that type of performance. That's typically the betting pattern of what people do. They remember what they saw last, and the books, of course, have probably adjusted and pumped up that number a little bit in anticipation of bettors wanting to bet Ja'Marr Chase over his receiving total, over on everything for Ja'Marr Chase. So that's probably the direction I would head with him, is to go under on everything, especially his yardage. And not that I'm going to get involved on Higgins. I don't have a great feeling for which way it's going to go, but I think Chase will get the attention, and maybe that gives Higgins the, you know, opens a door for him to go over some of his prop numbers.
If you like the Chargers, Brady, you know, and I kind of like them as well, rooting for Cincinnati, but I like the Chargers. I think they're going to run the ball, you know, and try and keep it away from that Bengals offense, right? So how about just rushing attempts? J.K. Dobbins, 12.5. He's not going to get 13 tries tonight?
Yeah, that seems too easy. I would definitely be with you there, Scott. The other one I looked at was Justin Herbert. I think his rushing total yardage was like 14.5. I would expect him to go over too. I think they'll have a design run or two possibly for Herbert, you know, a scramble here for 6 yards, a scramble there for 4 yards. He might even, you know, a quarterback sneak for a touchdown, a fourth down conversion. I think Herbert can get to 15, 20 yards rushing. So he was another one. I'm with you on Dobbins and the attempts. We know how Harbaugh plays football. You know, it's run the ball, it's play defense, and he started to sling the ball a little bit further downfield, like I was mentioning earlier. Justin Herbert, you know, is really starting to put some yards per attempt together. You don't expect that with the way the Chargers play football. You wouldn't think that Herbert is throwing the ball, you know, 7, 8, 9 yards down the field every attempt on average, but he is. So, you know, again, I go back to the way we know Harbaugh's, you know, going to play this game, and outside of Herbert throwing it around and becoming more comfortable with his receivers, we figure he's going to run the ball and play defense. That's kind of the foundation, I believe, of the Harbaugh, you know, what we've seen here in the NFL in 2024. So I'm with you on attempts for both Dobbins, possibly Edwards, and Herbert yardage as well.
What about
while we're talking
quickly,
Chargers? Oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's all good.
Well, I was just going to ask, and really I should be directing this question to you as well, Joe, being the resident Chargers fan here. Is it a Ladd McConkey game against a bad defense?
Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah, and I'll let Joe answer, but I'll throw real quick. I looked at him at 2-1 to have an anytime touchdown for sure.
Yeah, you look at the Ravens, Lamar put up, 290 passing yards on the Bengals last week. So there is going to be some wide receivers that eat, and I do think McConkey is one of them.
It's a modest prop. You know, 57.5 is his total, over 3.5 receptions, I believe is at minus 120. Again, a number worth thinking about. More with Brady Cannon when we come on back. I should say 4.5. Does make a difference right there.
together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Back here with Scott, Joe, Brady Cannon hanging out with us as well as we're looking ahead to Sunday Night Football. The Bengals and Chargers kicks off in just about a half hour as things stand right now. There's a lot of Chargers love coming out here on this show. I feel like I'm kind of alone on Bengals Island, and I don't know if that is, it is my investment. I have bet on the Bengals, both money line and with the points, because with the spread being as short as it is, why not, invest in both? But I don't know if that's me thinking it's really the smart play or if it's just me hoping that that is the way this plays out, because I want to keep the postseason hopes alive for Cincinnati, and a win tonight goes a long way toward doing that. A loss, I think, really kind of ends that dream. But when it comes to teams that are better positioned for the playoffs in the AFC, how about the ones that just clashed? And Buffalo handing Kansas City, Brady, its first loss of the year here in Week 11. What are your expectations for this conference? Are these teams on a collision course to meet in the AFC title game?
Well, it's interesting that we have the Bengals and the Chargers matching up this evening, because I think in the AFC, obviously it's the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills. And then I think the two teams that are kind of flying under the radar a little bit, not necessarily under the radar for Mr. Wetzel. I know he's got some futures on the Bengals, and I think the Chargers are starting to enter that conversation. I even looked at them last week as possibly, making some bets on them to, win the conference or get into the conference championship, whatever, something like that. I think they're definitely a player. And it feels like, again, the Bengals and the Chargers are kind of those two teams that people are holding out hope for, that, could be a long shot outside of the big three favorites in the conference. I'm, like you said, Adam, if the Bengals lose tonight, they're done. Yeah, I don't think the Bengals are making the playoffs. I think they will lose tonight. I haven't been thrilled with this team really since the beginning. They always start out slow in September, and they did again. But then after watching them for just a few weeks after that, I was like, nah, I think some of the problems they had, quote unquote, in the locker room with Jamar Chase and wanting to sign an extension, and then all of a sudden Higgins is hurt. It just didn't feel like the chemistry was there from the get-go. I did make a futures bet on the representatives in the Super Bowl to be the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills, and that was at 18-1. And I saw it as low as 14-1. I think with the Bills win today, maybe that'll be at 12-1 or something like that. Maybe 10-1. I mean, it feels like Detroit's getting there for sure. And in the AFC, I just think you have to kind of pick your poison. I didn't want to take the chalk with Kansas City. Are they going to get there for a third straight year? I don't know. The Ravens, I'm not thrilled with that defense. And Buffalo, I landed on them because it feels like the first year that we didn't think they were going to get there from the get-go. You know, we went into this season, in the offseason, kind of down on Buffalo. They've won the division 4 years in a row. I think Miami or the Jets are going to get it this year. Everybody seemed to be kind of, including myself, a little bit underwhelmed by Buffalo. And here they are exceeding expectations, more so for the first time in a long time, I believe. So it could be maybe finally Buffalo's year. I'm betting Buffalo and the Lions to meet in the big dance in February.
All right. You said it during the break. You grew up a Niners fan. What are we doing with your San Francisco 49ers after today's loss?
That Super Bowl loser hangover is a long one, right? I mean, yeah. I took the Seattle Seahawks in a contest, the Westgate Super Contest, and nice. It looked for a long time like Seattle was going to cover the game, but the Niners were going to win. And then I didn't get to see everything down the stretch, but it looked like Kyle Shanahan really mismanaged that clock. He could have taken timeouts to have enough time to get the ball back and tie it up with a field goal or what have you. And pretty soon they score a touchdown and he's left with 12 seconds. I mean, that looked poor to me. The other thing, it was pretty unfortunate for San Francisco to lose Nick Bosa. Seattle scored 2 touchdowns in that game without Bosa in the lineup. Since he left in the second half, Seattle scored 2 touchdowns following that removal. And it didn't appear to be a serious injury for Bosa. I don't know, if he'll be back next week. But with him out of the game, it was a very big deal for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Niners aren't going anywhere, I don't think. It's probably time to put them to bed after this loss today. As far as the NFC West, I'm really excited about the Arizona Cardinals. This team's I've really enjoyed Jonathan Gannon now in his second year. I think he's doing a heck of a job there. They have exceeded, Kyler Murray's talking about it's the best he's thrown the ball his entire career. I think this Trey McBride is outstanding. If their defense can improve, they're going to make some noise in the postseason as well.
Yeah, they've definitely been impressive out there. Just quickly, any thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings able to get another win today? Sam Darnold played a stronger game than we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Do you have any hopes for them in the NFC?
I really don't, Joe. I don't think they're there yet, and they probably still need a quarterback. Sam Darnold started out guns a-blazing. He's had a couple of blips, in the last few weeks. And Adam and I talked about this on Saturday. I think our preseason prognostications of Minnesota were way off. Everybody underestimated them. But I also, at the same time, don't think they are as good as they started the year out, what they looked like early on. I think the real Minnesota Vikings are kind of showing up right now, and that is an above-average team. I don't think they're tremendous. I think the Packers are probably better than Minnesota in that division. Didn't exactly look like it today, but I think they caught a fired-up Bears team on their last leg, maybe that put forth some effort. But, yeah, I think the Giants, or the Vikings, rather, are probably going to come up short in that division. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. You probably will get 2 teams out of that division that make the postseason, and I think it'll obviously be the Lions, and I think the Packers will be the other representative from the NFC North.
Rams going to squeak into the playoffs, Brady?
Yeah, I think they have a really good shot. I would probably want to take the Rams more over the Vikings because I think the Rams can beat the Niners. They can beat everybody in their division. I'm not so sure Minnesota can.
Brady Cannon, a regular here on Sports Grid. Seems like whenever you turn on the network, even if it's in the middle of the night and you happen to be watching the football contest show, he is just on Sports Grid, and he's with me on Saturday nights. We'll talk again, Brady.
together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Back here for one final segment here on In-Game Live Pro Football Game Day on your Sunday night or afternoon, or, who knows where in the world you're watching. Maybe it's early morning if you're across the world. I don't know. Whatever the case, we're glad you're here. And we got football coming up. After a day of football, we got Sunday night football. I think we can still call it that, regardless of where you are watching. It is the Bengals, the Chargers. We were just breaking it down with, obviously, Scott and Joe, but Brady Cannon was here. I didn't get to ask all of you this while we were on the air. I did float it during the break, but I want to bring it to the show. Team totals, especially the Chargers. That's the one I'm really looking at here, Joe, at 23.5. For one, you're under the key number of 24, which is enticing, but also, again, bad secondary on the other side, especially if you're on the Chargers side, as I know you are and Scott is and Brady was. I'm conflicted. I am on the Cincy side, but doesn't mean I don't expect points in this game, independent of who wins. Over 23.5, how do you feel about it?
I would have to take the Chargers over 23.5, but I wouldn't go much higher, Adam, because this is a team that hasn't topped, 27 points on the season. So 23.5 really does feel right against the secondary here of the Cincinnati Bengals. And we know they're going to utilize the run game, try to eat up the clock. But I do think we're going to see some quick passes. They will eat on the secondary here. So I like it over the 23.5. Scott, would you take it over or under 23.5 for the Chargers?
Nah, I think I would take it at under. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game if the Chargers win. If they win, it's because they're going to run the football, keep it low-scoring, keep it away from the Bengals offense. So even though 24 points for a winning team is not a lot, it's not a number that I feel comfortable. I wouldn't necessarily play the under, but I would not play the over. The magic number for the Chargers is 24 points. That said, when the Chargers allow 24 points or more, then they're only 6-25 straight up, 9-22 against the spread. When they allow 23 points or less, Chargers 31-10 straight up, 29-10-2 against the spread. So that is your magic number, 24. I just don't think they want to allow this to get into a high-scoring game. I love all the running props, whether it's – I like the attempts more than I do the yards. Use both guys, but I would stay away from that number. I don't like that number.
So, guys, what are your favorite bets in this game for people that have yet to invest? Joe, we'll start with you.
Well, it's the Chargers straight up on the money line. I could see this being a 1-point game. So I'm kind of cautious of taking the spread there for the Chargers, laying the 1.5. And I think at minus 120, it makes more sense straight up on the money line. I'm then going to look at the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm taking their team total under 23.5 points. That's coming in at plus 100. I do think, just like Brady thinks, Justin Herbert is going to have a day. I love him over his 14.5 rushing yards. And yes, he's not a dual threat quarterback, but he's a quarterback that has been using his legs slightly more in these games. And then I think with how the Bengals secondary looked last week versus the Baltimore Ravens, that we will see him have some big passes out there. I think he nicely goes over his passing yards of 242.5. Yes, I know that Jim Harbaugh and this game plan is to run the clock and utilize that. But I do think they'll be pushed in a couple of situations where we're going to see those bombs out of Justin Herbert. So give me that to the over. And then Gus Edwards instead of Jopkins will be my target for the rushing yards on the ground, over 30.5. You guys, he had 55 last week returning from injury. And I do think this week we could even see him hit over 60 rushing yards on the ground. I would alt that up as well. Ladd to get in the end zone and Quentin Johnson as well. What about you, Scott?
All right, I'm going to go Gus Edwards over 7.5 rushing attempts. I'm going to use J.K. Dobbins as well over 12.5. Not smart to do both running backs in one team, but I just think they're going to run the football. I really do. And at worst, you get a split, but I think both guys. Dobbins has had 13 attempts in 8 straight games, every game except game number 1. So why is he not going to get 13 tonight, right? Want a couple of goofy ones? Have some fun. How about Chase Brown, Bengals #1 running back, and Dobbins, #1 running back for the Chargers, each to have 5 yards rushing each quarter, 7-1. Not bad.
Yeah, I like diving into these game specials. It's an interesting one for sure.
Fun.
Hopefully, it's been a fun day of football. We really, understandably, given the nature of the show, we're zeroed in on the 3 games this afternoon. Didn't talk as much about the games that happened earlier on in the day, but some seismic outcomes to help bring the playoff picture into focus or convolute the whole thing. Point is, we're a little more than midway through the season and a lot of fun football in front of us, including, of course, this contest tonight, which is just so immensely important for the Cincinnati Bengals. For Joe Madden, for Scott Wetzel, Brady Cannon, AJ, everybody behind the scenes, I am Adam Hoffman. Thanks for joining us. Happy betting tonight. Go win some money. We'll talk to you again during the week.